See, a lot of people may say that they're tired of hearing the same stories over and over again, but it's about the many stories within the stories that we didn't hear. For example, the conflict between Azie and Rich Porter. Many don't know. See, Harlem in the 1980s was a place where legends were born and buried. The crack era turned teenagers into millionaires, and millionaires into targets. When people talk about Harlem's most infamous trio, Rich Porter, Azie, and Alpo, they usually paint a picture of brotherhood, loyalty, and fast money. But the truth behind the curtain was far different. At the heart of it, Rich Porter and Azie were never really on the same page. They were business partners, but never brothers. They made history together, but they never truly respected one another. Rich thought Azie was soft. Azie thought Rich was reckless. The silent beef ate away at everything they built. Rich Porter was Harlem's golden child. He was flashy, fearless, and lived for attention. To him, hustling wasn't just about money. It was about letting the world know you had it. Rich wasn't content to get rich and hide. He needed the cars. He needed the chains, the mink coats, the spotlight. But more than that, Rich believed respect in Harlem came from one thing: action. And in the streets, action means violence. It meant you had to bust your gun. You had to prove that your name wasn't just about the dollars. It was about fear. That's where Rich's problem with Azie started. Azie was smart. Azie was calculated. Azie was the kind of hustler who wanted to run the game like a business, but he wasn't a gunman. He wasn't the type to put fear in people with a pistol. He didn't move with that type of energy. To Rich, that made him soft. It didn't matter how much money Azie touched or how many bricks he flipped. If you couldn't show violence, you weren't complete. And Rich carried that in the back of his mind every time they moved together. He respected Azie's brains, but he didn't respect him as a man. See, money didn't equal respect. Rich and Azie both touched millions, but in Rich's mind, money alone didn't make you a man. Respect came from action, and action meant violence. If you couldn't bust your gun, you weren't really respected. That's why Rich never saw Azie as equal. He respected his money, but not his heart. In the streets, fear outweighs intelligence for some reason. I don't make the rules. Azie had brains, but Rich valued muscle. Rich saw Azie as a provider, not a protector. From Azie's perspective, Rich was the problem. Azie didn't get into the game to die young. He got into the game to get rich. He was one of the few who thought long-term, who actually planned for the future. Azie believed in saving, stacking, and investing. He didn't believe in spending $20,000 on a car just to look good or buying jewelry, even though he bought some cars and his car game was sharp. He bought Alpo a couple of cars and a couple of friends around him because he wanted to keep his crew sharp. But when that same money could be flipped into more product, he'd rather do that. He'd rather take that route. To Azie, Rich wasn't just reckless. He was living above his means. And of course, Rich was making money hand over fist, but he was blowing it just as fast. He was spending like the supply would never run out. Like the game would never change, and Azie knew better. Now let's talk about flash versus quiet. Rich loved the spotlight. He wanted Harlem to see him shine. Azie preferred quiet power. He believed the less attention, the longer you last. To Rich, Azie's quietness looked like weakness. To Azie, Rich's flashiness looked like suicide. And of course, there's logic behind that. Flash draws jealousy and enemies. Quiet draws suspicion of weakness. Each man understood the other's approach. Now, the difference in mentality created an invisible wall between them. To the streets, they looked like a team, but inside, Rich saw Azie as a punk, and Azie saw Rich as immature. Their philosophies were night and day. Rich believed in respect through flash and fear. Azie believed in respect through stability and savings. They were tight together by money, but money could only hide so much. Azie thought long term, he saved, he stacked, and he believed in investing for tomorrow. Rich lived for today. He spent like money would never stop. Cars, clothes, jewelry. Rich believed in showing his success, not hiding it. Azie's strategy was about security. Rich's strategy was about dominance. Both philosophies worked short term, but they couldn't coexist. Now the tension finally boiled over when Rich Porter did the unthinkable. He opened up a drug spot directly across from Azie's. In the streets, that was one of the highest forms of disrespect. A man's block was sacred. It was his kingdom. And for Rich to set up shop right across the street was like declaring war. He wasn't just making money. He was making a statement. He was telling Azie, I don't respect you. I don't respect your hustle. And I don't care if you starve as long as I eat. For Azie, that was confirmation for everything he already believed about Rich. He always thought Rich only cared about himself. Alpo even said the same thing about Rich. He always thought Rich was selfish. And now, Rich proved it. This wasn't about money anymore. It was about pride. Azie didn't retaliate because that wasn't his nature. He didn't shoot back. He didn't declare war. But from that point forward, the respect was gone. Their partnership was finished in spirit, even if they still touched money together. See, Rich Porter's selfishness was his trademark. On the surface, he was very generous, always smiling, always helping his family, always spreading the love in Harlem. But in business, Rich thought about one thing, and that was Rich. If he wanted it, he was going to take it. If he needed it, he was going to get it. Loyalty meant something to him, but only if it didn't get in the way of his ambitions. Now, that's why he could betray Azie without blinking. In his world, man, every man was for himself. Now, the logic behind the selfishness in business, Rich cared about himself first. If a move benefited Rich, he'd make it, even if it hurt the people around him. Azie thought about the team, the bigger picture. The difference created friction. Selfish hustlers rise fast but burn bridges. Strategic hustlers build stability but lose loyalty when they're not feared. Rich valued loyalty only when it served him. Now, that block betrayal, the biggest sign of disrespect came when Rich opened a spot right across from Azie. In Harlem, that wasn't just competition, it was war. To Azie, that proved Rich didn't see him as a brother or partner. Now, the block is sacred. Violating it equals betrayal. The move showed Rich cared more about ego than partnership. Azie knew from then on the relationship was broken. Azie, on the other hand, was trying to play chess in a game where everybody else was playing checkers. He saw the dangers in Rich's lifestyle. He saw the way flash attract enemies, the way reckless spending brought the wrong eyes. He wanted to make money quietly and build something that lasted. But the streets don't reward quiet. They reward loud. And in that environment, Azie's ways of thinking was seen as weakness. See, this silent beef between Rich and Azie didn't end in bullets, but it poisoned everything. It created a gap that someone else was bound to fill. And that someone was Alpo. Alpo was everything Rich thought Azie wasn't. Alpo had the heart. Alpo had the violence. Alpo had the willingness to ride without hesitation. Where Azie failed to inspire Rich respect, Alpo succeeded. And that's why Rich gravitated more towards Alpo and less towards Azie as time went on. The irony of the whole story is that Rich and Azie never had a shootout, never declared war, never made their beef public. It stayed quiet. But in the streets, sometimes as quiet beefs are the deadliest. They eat away at the foundation of trust. They make you look at your partner differently. They make you question motives. Now, what made their conflict unique was that it never turned into open war. No shootouts, no retaliation, just quiet bitterness. But that silence poisoned everything because unspoken disrespect always lingers. Now, that empire that they might have built together didn't collapse overnight. It crumbled slowly, piece by piece, as jealousy, betrayal, and greed tore it apart. But underneath it all was that silent beef. Two men who could never respect each other's code. Rich believed fear and flash made you a man. Azie believed saving and stability made you smart. Neither one was wrong, but together they were doomed. Rich died a Harlem legend. Azie lived to tell the story. But the truth is, their partnership was broken long before bullets even flew. Their story is a reminder that in the game, money can't hide problems for a while, but pride will always bring them to the surface, and pride sooner or later destroys everything. When jealousy, betrayal, and outside enemies hit, their foundation was already weak. They had money but no unity. They had success but no respect. And in Harlem, that meant their empire couldn't survive. A strong team could survive pressure. A divided team collapsed under the smallest hit. Their silent beef left them exposed. Now, the root of the problem was pride. At the core, it wasn't just about the money or territory. It was about pride. Rich couldn't respect Azie's quiet ways. Azie couldn't respect Rich's reckless ways. And once pride enters the equation, the trust is gone. Pride makes compromising impossible. Without respect, partnerships can't last. Their downfall wasn't drugs or cops, it was ego. Now the final lesson is, Rich Porter and Azie became Harlem legends, but their partnership was never built on respect. They shared money, but not values. They made history together, but they were never truly brothers. Their story shows that in the streets, money can cover cracks for a while, but pride, selfishness, and disrespect always bring everything down. Now, we all know you can't mix different codes in the same partnership. Money without respect is temporary. Silent beef is just as deadly as open war. Now, that's all we got for tonight. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. If you enjoyed the video, hit the comments. Let me know what you think. Hit that like button. Join the Patreon. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. Turn the notifications on so you don't miss out on the content. Check out my playlist and my last couple of videos. Y'all take it easy and go on members22.com. Cop some fragrance. Y'all take it easy, man. I'm out.